Okay, so welcome everybody to our next installment of the quarterly medium and heavy duty electric truck workshop series. The Drive Electric Pennsylvania Coalition has been hosting this series for quite some time. And our guest today is Javon Teague with Workhorse Trucks. I'll be introducing him a little bit more in a minute. But we like to kick off with just a little introduction to the Clean Cities program. And as um, just to give a little context about how this series came about and what we do. Let me go into presentation mode here. So the Clean Cities and Communities program, basically we focus on energy savings and on petroleum reduction. We're a grassroots organization that provides resources on transportation technologies and infrastructure. And basically, we do this a couple different ways. We have a technical assistance program. So if you're interested in adopting any kinds of clean fuels and you have questions, we can usually get you an answer within 48 hours. The bread and butter of what we do is training and outreach. So we host programs like this webinar that we're hosting today. We also help people find funding opportunities, and we have a suite of tools, information tools through the AFDC that helps with your adoption and transition projects. The Clean Cities program is part of a network of coalitions that span the entire country. There's about 75 of them across the United States. This map is a little bit outdated. We have a couple new ones that are even coming on board that they call apprentice coalitions. But the goal is to cover the entire country so that there's support for the adoption of clean fuels. Here in Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh Region Clean Cities covers the 33 counties on the eastern half of the state, and Eastern Pennsylvania Alliance for Clean Transportation covers the 34 counties on the eastern side of the state. So together we cover the whole Commonwealth, and this graphic just shows you how the regions are broken down. Together we host the Drive Electric PA Coalition. We'll talk about that in just a second. But both PRCC and EPACT are 501c3 nonprofit organizations. And as I said before, the bread and butter of what we do is this education and outreach. We also do project management. We provide technical assistance. We've talked a little bit about grants support that we do. So if you're interested in going after some funding for your project, we can help you with that. And the whole coalitions are comprised of public and private companies, state and local governments, municipalities, utilities, and more. And then this over here, we just show all of the different fuels in our portfolio. We cover not only electric, but also natural gas, propane, biodiesel, hydrogen, ethanol, and others. As I said, PRCC and EPACT came together with our state partners to form the Drive Electric PA Coalition back in 2016. And the goal is to help with the adoption of electric vehicles throughout the Commonwealth. We have our Drive Electric PA website out there. You can click this when you get the slides if you're interested in checking that out. There's lots of resources out there for learning a little bit more about electric vehicles and some of their different applications. We also are part of a project through CalSTART called Charge at Work. Most people charge either at home or at work, but there is a need for more workplace charging. So Charge at Work is an educational campaign that helps people understand the benefits of workplace charging. And you can check their resources out here. I also wanted to highlight that later this year, we'll be kicking off a program through PennDOT focusing on electric construction equipment. So out at each PennDOT district office, we should be having demonstrations of some of these equipment. So please stay tuned and watch for that to come. And then this is just a little bit about federal incentives and funding opportunities. Some of this is a little bit out of date at the moment, so I'll skip ahead to this next slide with the Alternative Fuels Incentive Grant covers vehicles. So if you're transitioning to an alternative fuel or electric vehicle, um, through the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, you can go after this AFIG grant. It covers vehicle retrofit or purchase, the alternative fuel refueling infrastructure, and innovative technology. And that should be opening up anytime soon. Um, so that's just a little bit about who we are and what we do. Our executive director's contact information is there. Rick Price here for PRCC and Tony Pandiero for EPACT. Feel free to contact them if you have any questions about what we do. But at this point, I'd like to stop share and I'll hand things over to our guest speaker. I'd like to introduce Javon Teague with Workhorse Trucks. Javon is the regional sales manager for the Eastern region. He's been with the company for about 20 months now, responsible for sales, dealer development, and fleet conversion consultations on ICE to EV vehicles. He's a certified fleet management professional through the National Private Truck Council, and he was previously working with the OEM automotive industry for 22 years with Toyota, Lexus, Audi, and Subaru. He has a lot of passion for the technology and innovation and truly believes we can leave the world a better place through EV and other alternative fuel advancements. So please join me in welcoming Javon Teague.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction, Kristen. I appreciate it. I don't know if there's like a small clap or sound somewhere people accept people, but thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to present to you all today and speak on behalf of Workhorse. Happy to share this information with you all and hopefully be able to answer some questions about our products, our company, and our efforts to bring EVs to the forefront of the medium duty space for trucking as well. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. I have a quick presentation that I'll go over. Won't take too much time. Let me just hit share screen here. All right. Are you all able to see my screen?
Yes, you're good.
Okay, great. All right. So, just to kind of give a brief introduction into Workhorse, just so you all know who we are and what we do, and then I'll get into a little bit of our trucking options that are available for the market. So, Workhorse is an American OEM and technology company. We're pretty much dedicated to pioneering really zero emission commercial vehicles. Our headquarters are in Ohio, in Sharonville, basically a suburb of Cincinnati. And we design, we manufacture, and we fully support from a service and parts standpoint all of our electric medium duty vehicles that are available for sale on the market. We specialize in sustainable solutions, so we offer different options, which I'll go over later, and particularly for last mile delivery. So not long haul, but really just intercity and last mile delivery is really our specialty. So as I mentioned before, so we have our headquarters, which is in Sharonville. That's where all of our administration takes place and HR executive offices. But our main focus that we'll be talking about today is the Workhorse Ranch, which is located in Union City, Indiana. We have over 420,000 square feet of space on over 100 acres. And I'll kind of get in a little bit more detail about that in just a second as well. But we actually build a lot of our trucks here and have the ability to build over 5,000 of those trucks on one shift. And then we also have our engineering and technical design center in Wixom, Michigan, which is located near Detroit. And we bring a lot of innovations and research and development happens at that facility there. So getting into really the history of Workhorse, I've kind of summarized this a little bit without getting into all of the history, but at this particular location in Union City, Indiana, and that's kind of a bird's eye view of it, we've been actually doing bodybuilding in that location for over 100 years. So that location is not anything new to being able to produce vehicles or produce bodies for different applications. They've been doing chassis production there since 1998. So this isn't something new that we've been doing. The factory is built for this and built for the expansion. And most recently, since Workhorse has acquired it in recent years, we've put several million, actually quite a bit of funding into it to update it to modern day standards. We've added a new paint booth, all new equipment, and it's been retrofitted to be a pure EV manufacturing facility. We've been pioneering EVs since 2012 under the Workhorse name or different ownership groups, but Workhorse as you know it, and pioneering EVs since 2012. But we've been doing chassis there since 1998, as you can see. So we talked about our manufacturing facility and kind of the size of it and the scope of it, but we actually do build them. We paint them there. I talked about our paint booth that we built. We do testing there to make sure it meets rigorous testing requirements. And we actually do have a training center there as well. So we've updated everything. You can see some of the pictures there, which may be a little bit hard to see on your screen. I'm not sure what you're looking at, but we have our modern production line. We have a hands-on training center where we train dealership staff and other like service providers that we work with to be able to work on our vehicles. We've also added automated paint booth. We've streamlined our parts distribution. We have a NVH test track, which stands for noise, vibration, and harshness. And we also do customer tours are available as well. So if you or anyone from your organization is interested in actually coming out to see the Workhorse Ranch, you can certainly contact me and my information will be at the end, and we can set up a tour for you all to come and see it if you would like. So here's just some of the logistics and another bird's eye view of the facility there. As I mentioned, it encompasses over 122 acres. There's over 200,000 square feet of production space. We have logistics space there. We also have a battery storage facility on site. And then finished vehicle storage takes place, and we deliver our trucks right from there as well. And we do water testing and the OEM paint facility that I discussed. So I won't read through all of this, but this just goes over some of the kind of high points of our manufacturing facility. So as I mentioned, we can build over 5,000 vehicles in a year on a single operating shift. We can build up to 10,000 units with dual shifts if needed. But we've updated everything from the lighting, paint, the lines, everything you could think of has been really updated to make this a brand new facility, even though it's in the same place that has been there for a while, or for, as I mentioned, over 100 years since the bodybuilding company existed. What some of you all may not know, Workhorse actually is in the FedEx delivery space. So we actually own a company that operates out of Ohio. It's called Stables by Workhorse. So we actually purchased this route. It's a group of different, FedEx routes that we purchase. So we operate both Workhorse vehicles and traditional ICE vehicles as part of this operation. So really what we do in our last mile delivery for Stables, we do fleet management. We have charging stations. We have a maintenance bay. And we operate, I think right now I think the last number that we operate is, I think it's up to 13, give or take, or 10 or 13 actual Workhorse vehicles that we're using in this FedEx basically operation that is owned by Workhorse. But what we're doing, really the end goal of all of this, is to be able to run traditional ICE trucks side by side with Workhorse trucks so we could get real world data on cost savings, or as we refer to it internally, TCO, so total cost of ownership. Any type of service issues that traditional ICE vehicles may experience or our vehicles may experience, and really just be able to report back on the efficiencies of what an actual last mile delivery operation experiences and the kind of benefits or, fallback from transitioning, from ICE to EV setup. So, we don't really just kind of put a product out there and hope, as I like to say, like a presentation only. We actually have a facility where we're doing daily research, like true actual market research on, what works best for the customers in this space. And we just use FedEx as, that prime example. And while I'm on the note of FedEx, just so you all know, Workhorse has actually worked out a deal with FedEx Express, FedEx Corporate, where we've sold the initial set of our vehicles of 15 trucks to them. Most of those trucks are being deployed into the market pretty much any day now. They've gone through upfitting and ready to hit the road for FedEx Corporate. We have quite a bit of interest been picking up on the FedEx side from the actual contractors. So similar to what we do at Stables, we've had quite a bit of FedEx contractors, ISPs as we call them, independent service providers, that are also interested in transitioning some or, a portion of their fleet over to electric vehicles. And due to our relationship with FedEx Corporate, we've actually gotten quite a bit of interest for orders and some of these independent service providers transitioning over to our EV products. Before we get, I can't see the screen where everybody's at, but I just wanted to check. Does anybody have any questions before I get into our actual products that we offer?
Javon, hey, this is Brian. How you doing, buddy? Yeah, the only thing I was just curious about on your sustainable trucks and things, do you guys offer in-house charging as well, or is that a third-party separate group that you guys reached out to or refer to for your clients? Thank you.
Yeah, it's no worries, Brian. Thank you for asking. So it is more of a third party setup. We have kind of, more formal partnerships and then informal partnerships with different companies that we have worked with. And some of our dealers that we have on board actually have their own setup where they do energy and infrastructure setup as well. But we ourselves do not have like an actual charging division where we would deploy trucks and then go in and do installation of chargers ourselves.
Got it. Thank you, sir.
No worries.
Vaughn, this is Rick Price. Do you work at all with FedEx Ground, which is kind of housed here in the Pittsburgh area?
Yeah, so the answer is yes. We have. I actually did I had a demo at, I want to say, I think it was Lancaster. It was outside of Harrisburg, the depot there where we did a demo with several of the ISPs there. Individual depots, we might not have a direct relationship with them, but if an ISP or a contractor calls us to come out and do a demo or provide a truck, we can certainly work with them. But we're continuously expanding our reach with all of the different depots on both the ground and express side. So if there's a particular location or somebody you want, us to talk about or work with, certainly my email's at the end and I'll provide my cell phone number as well. You all can reach out to me and we can discuss that further. All right. So I'm going to go over just kind of a quick overview of the trucks that we have and what they're used for. So as I mentioned earlier, we specialize in the medium duty space. So all of our trucks fall within the class 4 through class 6. So if you look on the far left of the screen, you'll see our W4CC, which is basically short for cab chassis setup. It is a class 4 vehicle. It says 7,000 pound payload on there, but typically what we kind of quote people on is about 5,000 pounds, because after you do the actual upfit, depending on what you want, you're going to lose some of that weight capacity there. That truck has 150-mile range and 118 kilowatt battery, and it does support level 2 and level 3 charging. So that's really overnight charging or fast charging as well on that truck. And I'll show you all on the next slide. We have quite a bit of different upfit options that can be, suited for that truck. I've gotten everything from municipal quotes for water trucks for cities. We've built dump trucks. You can do KUV bodies and stuff like that. So it's pretty versatile in what we can build on that truck. So there's a lot of different options available for the market. The next truck, which you see in the middle, is our W750. Reason for the title on that one is because it basically has 750 cubic feet of space inside of that box that you see there. So we take the W4CC cab chassis setup, and Workhorse actually builds that upfit. So we build the box, the overhang on the front, and it is a step van setup. So there is a passenger side sliding door and also a sliding door in the cab that goes into the actual box area as well. That truck, as I mentioned, is built on the W4CC cab chassis, so it is the same 5,000 pound payload. It has 750 cubic feet of cargo space and does get 150-mile range, and same supports level 2 and level 3 charging. Our W56, the far right picture there, which you can see, as I like to refer to, is some people call them bread trucks, some people call them, P1000s based on the industry. Really they're just a traditional, rectangular type of truck you would see from FedEx or UPS or even Amazon that are delivering packages in your neighborhood. That truck we basically is the W56 because it can be registered as both the class 5 or class 6. We sell this in different versions. So there's a 178-inch wheelbase option, which is our standard truck. We also offer a long wheelbase option in a 208-inch wheelbase. We also offer this as a strip chassis. So if you just want a electric motor chassis setup and want to put your own body on it, either through like Morgan, or if there's a bodybuilder that you say, hey, I want to put this body, but I want to use a Workhorse chassis, we can do that. And now we're also offering them in 2 different battery options in terms of sizes. So the traditional battery that comes with it is a 210 kilowatt battery. And we've actually started taking some orders. I think a small amount of orders so far, but you can get it in 140 kilowatt version. The total gross vehicle weight, as you can see, is 23,000 pounds. So it does stay under that CDL requirement. And that truck comes with a 10,000 pound payload. So you can actually carry twice as much weight as you could in the W750. And it is a step van, same. So we can build it with a sliding door or a fixed passenger door and just have the driver door slide it. We can build into several different options because, as you know, we're working with, as I mentioned, like FedEx and other larger size providers, and they have different requirements on what they want. That truck also gets 150-mile range, but to be honest, we've had quite a few ISPs state that they've gotten a little bit higher range on that. It all depends on the actual driving conditions in which they're operating it. But we do advertise that at 150-mile range, and that also supports level 2 and level 3 charging. And in the future, we do plan on offering this in a cab chassis setup, but that's going to be about 2 more years from now before we can actually, there's a lot of research and development that needs to go into that. But this is the truck. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. My throat's a little sick, so my throat's a bit scratchy. So I apologize if I sound a little hoarse right now. But that is the truck that, the FedEx ground as well as FedEx corporate is using for their deliveries, as well as a lot of other setups that we have on that truck as well.
Hey,
just so you all know. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Mike Britt. The ranges on the vehicles, you said that ISPs had different reports of ranges, but for your verification, what NREL route are you using? Are you using a particular NREL route? Are you using the California route, or are you using the New York City route?
No, I will say that a lot of our trucks have been deployed on the West Coast, so there's a lot more California routes, but I have a demo being operated in Virginia right now that's using that same W56 truck that's stating he's getting that same type of mileage out of there as well. There was a route when it was up at the PA location. To be honest, some of those guys said that they experience a little bit shorter routes, but when we look into driving habits and how fast they're driving, those guys had a little bit more higher speed mileage driving on the highway that they were doing at the beginning of their routes, which may have affected some of it. And that demo also took place in some of the extreme cold weather during the winter time. So there's a little bit of slight adjustment that you may see in the routing, but that's why we advertise it at 150. Some of, the weather may play a small part of it. Driving conditions play a small part of it as well. But some of our drivers have actually said that they've gotten up to 180 miles. But then some of the conditions, you may see a little bit of a shorter amount than the 150 that we advertise.
And the assumption is that they're going out at 100% and coming back at 20%?
Yes, that is. We typically use like a 20% just for charging stuff to make sure that, the battery is charged up correctly. Yes.
Thank you.
Yep. No worries. So just so you all know, on our W56 and a lot of, everything that we're building on the 170 and 208-inch wheelbase, we actually do a lot of testing on this. So it's been through over 4,000 miles of rigorous durability testing. You can find more information on this on our social pages like LinkedIn and stuff like that, where we've gotten certifications for, as you see there, the quote, the best EV step van that complete the course. But Workhorse has performed very well in this, industry testing that is done. We don't like to put the names and stuff like that in the presentation, but if you go on our website and stuff like that, you can see a lot more information on the testing that we've done. We've actually run campaigns recently where it's called Workhorse Drove It Here. So a lot of the shows like ACT, NTEA in Indianapolis, we will actually drive our truck versus having it shipped. We'll actually drive it. And, there was I think it was last year, we did a route where the truck was driven from Sharonville, Ohio, all the way down to the FedEx conference in Orlando. And we videotaped it along the way. So if you look on YouTube and Instagram under Workhorse, LinkedIn, you'll see a lot of those videos where you could see the truck actually out on the road performing in real world conditions while we take them to actual shows versus having them shipped. So I talked earlier about our upfit resources. So we have a, world-class upfit manager that works with all of the different, whether it's, independent private fleets or city municipalities and what they want. We can build different applications on that W4CC. As I mentioned, I think we have a picture of it, but we've even built a reefer version of the W56 for the food and beverage industry as well. But this is all in-house. So this isn't outsourced to another company. We have in-house upfitting that handles all of the, design and process for making sure our trucks meet the requirements of the specific upfits that are needed. And here are just some of the upfit partners that we've worked with and certified. SureFitters does a lot of our FedEx upfits that we've done. We recently certified Switch and Go. So if you all are familiar with the Switch and Go system, that Switch and Go, there's different options available for our W4CC through Switch and Go. And Delivery Concepts, just to name a few, is the company that actually worked on a reefer truck that we built for the W56. And I'll leave this up for just a second, but you guys can see some of the actual builds that we've built on our truck. Stake beds, dump bodies, the service body. The bottom right corner is the W56. That is the actual reefer Workhorse truck that we built. And that truck actually gets all the way down to freezing temperatures. So you could actually transport frozen goods as well as just chilled goods if you want as well. That's operated on a Thermo King setup. And you can see some of the custom shelving that we built for FedEx and other applications. But if there's specific needs that you all have, I can't guarantee that we can build everything. But I can certainly tell you that, the likelihood that we would be able to accommodate any specific upfit requests are pretty high.
Thermo King, that's a 2-zone?
Now, that is a very good question. I don't know that part of it. I can certainly check and get back with you all on that. I do know it's one. I was going to say, I do know it's one unit that's up there, but I don't know if it's two separate zones. I can find that out.
Yeah, because that's very interesting. The pharmaceutical industry is very interested in multiple zone reefers. And the King, so you have a relationship with King? Are you exclusive with King, or is it just, you're just contracting them?
No, we're not exclusive with them I don't know if you can see, but there's also Volta Air that we do. But again, Delivery Concepts is the one that built that truck for us, but we've gone through all the certification to make sure that, Thermo King works with us or works with that actually. So just so you guys know, that is actually wired into the high voltage battery. So it's not like it has to run on a separate auxiliary battery. It uses about probably 10% of the actual charge on the truck. So you can actually run it all day long without having to run an auxiliary battery. But there is a separate port to charge it up overnight. If it needs to stay running overnight, you can actually plug it into like a wall outlet that's, has enough power to power it. So that's stored overnight as well.
So it has shore power at 110 volts or 220 volts?
I believe it's 110 volts. I'll stay on the call and I'll get the actual exact specs on that for you guys, and I'll share it with you all before we get off the call.
Yeah, just send that to Tony. I mean, I know to be folks that are interested in that whole setup for several different reasons, but particularly pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, I can probably even add if I have it digitally, I could add it in the chat when we're done here, so you guys have the full specs on that as well. All right.
So Javon, real quick before you move off this slide, so tell us a little bit, if you can, from a mechanical perspective, the reliability of an EV vehicle versus an ICE vehicle. Everybody says there's more components in an ICE vehicle, which is true. But tell me in terms of like maintenance and things falling apart, things flying off. I mean, since you guys are sort of like, you're like a training facility there too, testing out both of these facilities or both of these equipment. Tell me what you see on your side. I mean, I know that's still pretty new. We're only a couple years into it, but what are you guys getting in terms of feedback on that equipment?
Yeah, so I would say that really when we talk about total cost of ownership, that kind of touches on what you're asking. So the kind of the numbers that the industry shares, and that we I can say that we've also shared from our stables data that we've gotten as well. When you talk about an ICE engine, so obviously there's a lot more moving parts, a lot more requirements in terms of oil, cool, liquids required. In this particular setup, while there are brakes, obviously there's electric motors, there are some traditional, coolants and stuff like that are needed. But when you look at the total cost of ownership from just the reduction in fuel costs, so I can say, I'll just use a great example that was shared with the Virginia guy that's doing the demo, right? So since he's had that truck, it's just only been a couple of weeks, he's put about 800 miles on it. We did the math in terms of what he's charging. So he spent about $81, just a little bit over $80 in actual charging costs. Did it at the depot, but when we factor that into what he would spend on traditional like fuel for the truck, it would have been a little bit over around $380 in fuel. And that's given, we've done it both on like 6 miles a gallon, 8 miles a gallon based on industry averages for the trucks that they use.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're talking about I would say probably 60-70% reduction depending on driving conditions and fuel costs, but then on maintenance costs as well. Our industry really kind of gets back the same type of data when, you're using the brakes a lot less than you would in a traditional vehicle because, these vehicles have regen braking. There's not oil changes that have to be done. There's no transmission fluids and changes that need to be changed in there. So overall, when we talk about total cost of ownership from a maintenance perspective and a savings perspective, it's about a 60 to 70% reduction in total costs to operate the vehicle on a day-to-day basis for maintenance and like fuel costs than what you see on a traditional ICE engine type of setup.
Got it. And with the vehicle being a little more expensive than an ICE vehicle, what's the break even on something like this? 6-7 years for the total ownership of that vehicle?
I would say that we do our calculations on like our average calculations that we do. We use like an 8-year life cycle, like an 8-year cycle. But in terms of really break even point, we have some fleets that could show a break even point at around 3 years. We have some that may show a point, at 5 years. It depends on how much is being driven, how many miles are being used. Sure. Stuff like that. But then, as we're talking to PA here, but in certain conditions where, the incentives are still in play. I mean, obviously, that's a little bit of a question right now in the market overall. But if the incentives are in play and you have states like California, and I think PA has pretty strong incentives as well, I mean, that return could actually come down drastically depending on the level of incentives that you're getting to buy the truck. Because, if you're buying a truck at even on what you would cost for an ICE vehicle, I mean, you could start to see a savings in probably 2 years or less, really.
Wow. That's great. Thank you for that.
Yeah. I will say, just to be fair, the incentives do make a big portion of it because without the incentives, I mean, there is a bit of an upcharge considering, the batteries are the most expensive part on an EV or an EV, whether it be a commercial truck or a car or anything. The batteries are really expensive. It's starting to come down for passenger vehicles. But in the commercial space, they're still pretty expensive. But, outside of that additional cost on the front side, you're able to actually save quite a bit of money. It's just a matter of what state and what incentive levels you're getting for purchasing.
Yeah. Good to know. Thanks, man.
Yep.
Javon, Gary Meese, real quick question.
Yeah.
How are you planning to handle service for the vehicles down the road as you get more vehicles out on the road?
Yeah, no. So it's funny because that's actually my next slide that I just put up. So we do have a dealer network. I won't say it's extensive, and we don't have a dealer in every single state at the moment. But we have several dealers on the West Coast. We have some in the Northeast area. We do have a dealer in the Georgia area right now. We are always looking at other dealers to continue expanding our dealer network. But on top of that, we also have internal field staff. So we have, engineers and stuff like that work internally for Workhorse. So if there's ever an issue that a local dealer cannot address or, it's too far from them, we've sent people out, literally jump on a plane the next day to go address any type of a vehicle. But we also, as you can see, we also partner with some of these mobile servicing partners that have been trained on our vehicles. So WW Williams, Zeem, and then Job Site Repair. We partner with, in actuality, we're about to launch in New Jersey right now a service location. So they won't sell trucks to start off with, but I can't make the announcement on who they are just yet, but we'll do that soon. But we're looking at adding additional service points that will be certified by us to work on our vehicles, so that they can either send someone out or have the vehicle towed there if there is an issue. But, not saying there'll never be an issue, but most of the issues that we see are more handled by software updates. So a lot of our software updates are handled as they call OTA, so over the air. So we're able to address a lot of like software updates or changes that need to be done via, telematics type of repairs and stuff like that. But you'll see. So just mentioning that, I mentioned the partners, but here's a map of kind of where those locations are at. The blue wrenches are service facilities or, mobile service providers. And then the red ones are our corporate facilities. And then the darker blue dots you'll see are our dealer locations that currently exist right now. And a lot of that happens to be in where most of the EV deployment is taking place. You'll see a pretty big gap in the central part of the country, but where a lot of the EV adoption is taking place in the upper Northeast and out on the West Coast, we have, substantial enough coverage right now to make sure that any issues that need to be addressed are handled by someone that's certified to do that.
Great, thank you.
No worries. Well, that's basically the gist. I'll leave the screen up for just a second if you all want to take down my email. Actually, here I'm gonna escape out of this and I'll put it back up. I'll put my cell phone on there as well. You guys can feel free to. Let me just make this adjustment.
This is Rick Price. Can you provide the slides that we can share also, and we can do it in PDF?
Yes, I should be able to make a PDF version of this and send it over to you.
Thank
And
you.
what I'll do, if it's okay, Kristen, I'll send it to you, and maybe you could just send it out to everybody since you have everybody's email, if that's okay.
Sure, that sounds great.
Okay, and I just put my cell phone number up there as well, if you guys want to write that down. And I know that you guys are, well, hopefully everybody that's on the call is interested in, at least what, transitioning to an EV can do for your organization or your fleet, stuff like that. Hopefully this has been helpful. I'm glad to be able to showcase Workhorse to you all. If there's any more questions, I'm still here. But other than that, thank you all.
Hey, Javon, I have a question.
Yeah.
My name is Mark. I live here in the Detroit area, and I've been in automotive research for over 20 years. I'm very familiar with Workhorse. I attached you guys a little report. You're more than welcome to share that with anyone and everyone. It's only like 6 pages long.
Okay.
If you skip to slide 5 on the thing that I attached in the chat, are you folks still working with the prismatic, or are you going to switch to pouch or cylindrical battery cell formats? I know we tried to break this down for the most basic, people who don't work in automotive kind of, thing. That's why it's a very simple presentation. But I thought it would be relevant for you folks since this is what I study vehicle lightweighting. Why do you make a car out of steel versus aluminum? There's always as my boss likes to say, there's always a trade-off, right? You can gain some energy or gain some weight or lose some energy and lose some weight, that kind of thing. Do you have any thoughts on that? I know that we've been promised solid state batteries for the past, 12 years from Toyota and GM, and they obviously haven't come to fruition. So I was just wondering if you guys had any thoughts on that.
Honestly, I wish that I could answer that, but I will be very honest, and I'm not on, enough kind of knowledge enough on the engineering side to know that part of it. I thought I don't want to kind of say this for a fact, but I thought that we were using cylindrical battery cells in there, but I could certainly check with our engineering team. We have a chief technology officer, Josh, who.
Yeah. If he wants to correct anything from this, because I built this a couple of years ago, and I always want to keep up. And I'm not trying to sell your product or Daimler or Packard's or Volvo's. I'm just trying to promote the industry in general because I'm a big believer.
No worries. I've already downloaded it. I'll be sure to send it to him, and then if anything, I'll send you a contact so we can stay in contact. I wish that I could speak to that a little bit better, but I don't want to misstate any information or anything that may be coming down the pipeline that I may not be aware of.
No, that's fine. I appreciate any help is always welcome. And Kristen and Javon, I will both send you guys LinkedIn requests so that way you have my contact info, etc.
Okay.
Much appreciated, guys.
Yep.
Nice. Javon, could you tell me where you put your phone number? Because I want to be able to call you after.
Oh, I'll just say it now. I had it up. I put it on the last thing, but I took it down. It's 678.
All right, one second. Sorry.
Yep.
678,
and then 744.
Yep.
5848.
Thank you, sir. Great presentation. Thank you.
No worries. Glad I could help.
Hey, Javon, this is Tony from EPACT.
Hey,
first of all, thanks for coming last summer to our annual Tosita event. We're having another one this summer, so hopefully you can make it.
I thank you guys.
Everybody on the line. Everybody on the line. Javon
sorry, Tony. Go ahead.
He had brought his truck to our event last summer at the Community College of Philadelphia. So we're having another one, just self-serving plug here on August 20th. We're going to have the same event. So it's all electric vehicles, all different types. So hopefully you can get your truck there again. But other than that, what everybody, it's kind of the elephant in the room. Everybody always talks about the price of these things because they cost so much. And I know, electric vehicles in general cost more than their internal combustion engine counterparts. How much, like, what's the incremental cost difference? Because in Pennsylvania, there's a grant program that comes out every year. We talk about the AFIG, and what it does is it pays the incremental cost difference between, an electric vehicle versus an internal combustion vehicle. So just give me like an example on a step van, and you don't have to, I'm not going to hold you to this, but give me the price, what a step van, just regular step van, like some type of UPS type of van that, would cost versus an internal, what you guys would charge. What's that incremental delta that we can see if we can get that down for you?
Yeah. So I would just say from my industry knowledge, if I'm using a W56 like standard wheelbase version on, like a no frills truck that you would get in an ICE version, and it's
Yeah.
not going down to like, older model years that somebody might be discounting and just trying to get rid of, but just like someone buying a new one at full price is probably going to be, I think they're somewhere around like 80 to 90 grand, just kind of, starting out depending. And that's from my understanding, that's like before upfit. Our truck with upfit, in terms of shelving, stuff like that you would do. So if you do upfit, in all honesty, it's probably going to be close to twice as much as that. You're probably looking in the low 200 range, depending on how you build it. Obviously the reefer truck with the insulation, stuff like that is obviously going to be a little bit more expensive. So it all depends on how you build it. But, as you stated in Pennsylvania, a lot of that difference in the cost between what a traditional truck would be is almost going to take out a majority of that amount. So I think some of the calculations I did when I was looking at the PA depot for FedEx, the incremental cost that they would have been paying on a traditional truck for what they would pay for an EV was probably about a 30% increase over a traditional. So maybe, 24, I think it was about 24 to 40,000, depending on, what they wanted. At that time, we were just kind of putting out the battery options, like the smaller battery option, which I forgot to mention this, everybody, the smaller battery option on the 56 is going to get about 100 miles of range. But again, just in talks of price for price, in some cases you may be looking at, twice as much as what it would cost for a traditional ICE vehicle. It's hard to say exact numbers. So I don't want to kind of get into the quoting of that. But again, in a lot of the states where these incentives are pretty heavy, it eats up a lot of that difference. And you can kind of come in parity with what a traditional ICE truck would be.
Yeah, that's great. Like I said, PA has this program that it'll pay for the incremental costs up to, depending on the weight of the vehicle, up to 40 or $50,000 per vehicle. So that, you know what I mean, if you have somebody that's kind of looking at that, if we can get that delta to parity, you know what I mean, then it's a lot easier for somebody to swallow, especially on doing a new technology they haven't done before. So thank you.
No
Hey,
worries.
Katie, what did you say that program's called? The AFIG?
Yeah, alternative fuel incentive grant, and it should open. It usually opens around now, so usually, it's usually open by the end of May. So I talked to DEP a couple weeks ago, so it's ready to open soon. And then that, like I says, that program, if it was the same as last year, it funds up to like 40 or 50,000 per vehicle, depending on the weight of the vehicle,
Nice.
just for that incremental cost. And then there was a $300,000 cap on per application, so you can only apply up to $300,000 or so, that depending on the cost of the vehicle. And then there's also an infrastructure piece of that too, Brian. So that pays for 50% of the incremental, 50% of the cost of the installation of the charging stations as well. So up to 300,000 again.
It's great.
And
Thanks, Tony.
I also do want to share with everyone that as it stands right now, unless there's any, drastic changes to the actual tax code, filing, all of our vehicles from the W4CC to the W56 qualify for up to a $40,000 federal tax incentive.
Nice.
So depending on your business and your fleet, I mean, a lot of that would have to be handled by any internal accounting or accountants that you work with. So that's not something that we do. But as it stands right now, and I believe that's called the 40W. But if you look up federal grants, and I'll stay on the call so I can put that in the chat, the link to that as well. But all of our vehicles qualify for up to $40,000 in federal tax incentive as well.
Yeah, Javon, this is Rick again too, and that AFIG program has traditionally been $4 to $6 million annually since about 1993, 95 timeframe. So that's something that's really good for our state. So I think those that are in Pennsylvania, they have to be licensed in Pennsylvania. So, um, so that that's something that we have that a lot of other states do not have.
Yes.
Real good. Excellent, Javon. Thank you so much. Good,
No
great
worries.
information.
I'm gonna
Thank you.
drop the link to the tax incentive right now. And I apologize. It's 45W. Sometimes trying to remember all of these numbers here.
Yeah,
But
just so everybody knows, we will post this recording and the slides on our website, and Tony will get it out to his website as well. So we do appreciate it. I'd like to again thank you again on behalf of PRCC and the DEPA coalition.
Yeah.
all right. Well,
And
thank you.
Dave Gelman put in the chat, just so everybody knows, that the 40,000 tax incentive has been proposed to phase out in 2025. So I don't know. Just, I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty in DC, so we don't know what's going to get passed and what's not. But I don't know. I guess, is that in the big beautiful budget, Dave? Well, I got you on the line.
Okay.
Reconciliation bill. Okay.
All right. Well, I'll take that back then.
Well, it's on the chopping block. That's just basically right now. So it's still that nothing's,
yeah,
decided on for sure right now, and that's a lot of things in the federal government. But yeah, so the big beautiful bill has to get passed before that goes away. So you right now, like Javon, like you said, it's still in play. So
okay. Not a problem. Well, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. And as I said, I'll get the slides out to you, Kristen, so you can send it out to everyone. And then if anyone has any questions, feel free to email me or give me a call.
Hey, thank you so much for presenting today, Javon. I just wanted to say something. You guys had touched on reefer units for a little bit. I can tell you for firsthand knowledge, Thermo King and Carrier really want to push getting rid of the diesel backup unit for class 8 trucks and class 7, but they want to filter that down to the smaller class 1 through 3 or 4 trucks. And I think that's something everyone should be very cognizant of who's on the call, because that's the way the industry wants to go. Mm-hmm. So for short-term delivery, say you're driving maybe under 100 miles a day in a class 2 or 3 truck. I'll give you an example of Gordon Food Service here in Michigan on the west side of the state. I talked to their fleet manager a while back, and Ford Motor Company gave him 5 little minivans to drive around, and he's very impressed. But he was looking at Workhorse and a couple other companies for bigger vehicles, and he wanted to know how that was going to be impactful going forward, shipping cold goods, not frozen goods. So I just want you guys to be aware, and I'm more than happy to continue this offline at some point. And again, thank you for presenting, Javon. It was great.
No problem. Happy to. Actually, when you said Gordon, I was going to say, I think we've spoken to them. I think we met them at one of the conferences. So yeah.
I'm sure you did. Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
I'm at basically every automotive conference, the battery shows happening, all that kind of stuff. So I hear you.
All right. No problem. Well, you all have a good day. I'll talk with you all soon if you need anything.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.